All right, welcome back to another Tech Talk. This is your host Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I got another special guest in the building. This is episode 40, and I just want to bring somebody in, a little bit, different. That's from that I consider tech, but it's not one of those tech roles because you guys know that all the people that I've brought on, they've either been like network administrators, systems administrators, cybersecurity professionals. But I wanted to show another side of tech by bringing my man AM1 on. And good to see you, AM1. I'm glad you was able to do this. How you doing, man?
Hello, Josh. Pleasure to be here. Much appreciated for bringing me on, brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. I love what you're doing over on your channel and everything. And I thought, this would be a great collab. You know what I'm saying? It's we both, doing positive things to help people. And so that's why I thought of you and I wanted to bring you on. So I definitely appreciate it.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, now let me give a couple of shout outs to everybody that's in the building. Good to see all you guys, Savage Scientist Dev, American Nia, Les G, Zero, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? Good to see you. See over the technician. It's always a pleasure to see you in the building, man. Les G, let's see, Spy Associates, good to see you, good to see you. And just send me an email about time shift spy, and I try to help you as best I can. And hey, keep it techie. Put your cash app on yeah. It's a $sign. Keep it techie. I see. I don't be going after the money like that. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys want to donate or not? I think it's in the description of the video. You know what I'm saying? If you wanna donate, but it's not about that. It's about trying to help people. In my opinion, that's the way I see it. Professor Black Ops, good to see you in the building. You know what I'm saying? Go down and hit that like button. I appreciate you, AM1, for putting that in the chat. Um, but all right, so like I said, what AM1 does, and I'm gonna let him explain what he does. But what AM1 does, is almost like graphics design consulting work, working with businesses, and it's just super dope to see that side of IT because a lot of people don't see that, don't understand that. All these people that create programs or create software, they need to have some way of marketing it and putting it out there so for people to actually use it. And that's where guys like AM1 kind of fall into it. So if you can, AM1, just go down and tell people what you actually do. Well, go down and introduce yourself and then tell people what you actually do.
All right, brother. Yeah. So, Aaron, AM1 Creates, creative consulting, visual media producer. So, I specialize in videography. So, I'm actually on scene, on set shooting. So, I'm working with various cameras and all the accompanying technology needed to put together a proper shoot. So we're dealing with cameras, gimbals, lenses, lighting, and a bunch of other stuff that just is needed to sort of tie all that together, different monitors and pieces for the pieces for the pieces, the gear on top of gear on top of gear. And then as well, I function as a motion graphic designer. So now I'm inside of software, primarily Adobe Creative Cloud, After Effects, Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, Cinema 4D, just these kind of different applications that allow you to manipulate graphic design. So, of course, you're designing for the purpose of um, creating function to whatever the project may be. So, this could be, I mean, there's so many angles to it, but I'll get
Hmm.
into that on the next question. But uh, videography, shooting, editing, and then motion graphic design. So let's get into the After Effects phase, and then being able to tie it all together. There's a little bit of audio mixing that goes into all of that as well. So it's just really tying together a whole visual piece, a whole visual experience to deliver a message. It's media. It's media. It's art. It's tech. Use of tech on a few different levels, all wrapped up in one. So most definitely, it's not IT per se, but it is
Hmm.
one of the back end main drivers of getting these products and these technologies out to the world.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, man. Um, now, how did you get into that? Like, I mean, it's, I, I don't know. So people just, I don't know, kind of fall into that path. Is it? Do you have a story behind how you actually got into to this area?
Yeah, man. I mean, the story is actually pretty interesting. I mean, overall, I think it's interesting. I'm kind of a nerd, but I mean, it is an interesting story. I think it objectively is interesting. My whole life always been an artist, illustrator, so always was one of the good drawers in class, like, literally from like elementary school, middle school up on through. And then, somebody will say, "Oh, you're a good artist, you're a good drawer. This person draws good too." So um, always was handy with that. Pretty much anything I can see, I can draw on paper, and it's hard to actually think how someone can't do that. But that's always been the case. I always knew I wanted to be an artist when I grow up. So at this point, I get to say, yeah, I grew up and literally achieved that. But at the time, of course, I just didn't know it would be by way of using technology, cameras, and computers. But because we're talking about this from the '80s.
Hmm.
I'm over 40 now. So got into various types of different art styles from anime to like Marvel DC style comic book characters. And then I was always a
Okay.
big hip hop dude because I have older brothers and cousins that put me in the game on a lot of hip hop stuff. Of course, it's coming up out of the '80s and a lot of exposure to, East Coast, West Coast stuff. So that all tied together because then, of course, graffiti style artwork, graffiti character style artwork. So really just
Hmm.
kind of going all over the place with these different styles and tying them all together, like literally going out street bombing to whatever degree we could and, tagging and sticker bombing and all that. Got into all these different kind of modalities with that kind of art and then getting into hip hop, then you get into streetwear, you get into t-shirts. So I was interested in that, like sort of learning color separation process and all that.
Hmm.
All of that tied into trying to make some shirts at one point. So fast forward, we're talking like late 90s. I was trying to get some shirts made from a guy, and at that point, I never really used software for color separation. He gave me burned on a CD. Uh, what was at the time Macromedia, Illustrator, and Photoshop, and I was like, okay,
Okay.
this is handy. So hooked that up and was like, okay, this is really interesting. I love Photoshop because what you could do, filling in the colors and all this good stuff. And at this point, you're scanning in some kind of artwork that I hand drew and then I color it and
Hmm.
playing with the layers and whatnot. And this is all self-taught. This is way, way back. We're talking like 97, 98.
Yeah.
And hated Illustrator until
Yeah.
I realized, wait, this is vector line art. Okay, line for line, mathematic points and bending the Bezier handles and the curves and all that. Once I really realized what it was and what I could do with it, I fell in love with Illustrator. But again, just tying the whole story together. But between hip hop and graphic design, uh, relative to hip hop stuff, and then people would ask me to do tattoos for them. And then early 2000s, I'm doing like graphic design projects, business cards, and just different stuff for people here and there, just kind of
Okay.
parallel with just regular day job. Um, Kind of a long-winded story, but I'll give you the tie it
Nah,
all
you
together.
fine. Go for
Okay.
it. You
And
good.
then another thing too, on top of the whole hip hop thing, I actually, a friend of mine at one point was like, "Hey, you should try to write a rap." And I was like, I never cared about rapping or whatnot. So at a certain point, I actually got into that as well. It was pretty handy with the bars, freestyling, all this good stuff. So it was just this whole tie-in with visual art inspired by hip hop. And then, of course, doing hip hop related stuff. Now I'm doing people's album cover art, CD cover art, whatever. CD cover art, you see,
Yeah.
is dated, right? Album cover, that's still a thing now, but literally CD cover artwork and whatnot.
Hmm.
And then started doing more shows, more events. So people want me to do posters, and then from doing that, so we're talking Bay Area, so Oakland, California based, just so you understand the storyline, tie it all together. I'm
Hmm.
doing shows myself. I'm doing posters and flyers for people. They're hiring me to do these things. I'm meeting a lot of different artists. I'm networking. I'm hitting stages. I'm doing these different things. Then I started promoting and doing shows myself. So I'm doing shows myself. I'm doing my rinky dink rap hip hop stuff. I'm doing this graphic design stuff. All of this multimedia experience is all tying together. Even dabbled in a little bit of motion graphic design stuff back then as well. So like
Hmm.
MySpace days, how it will let you get on the back end and kind of
Yeah.
manipulate the code and whatnot.
Yeah. Right. The
Uh,
HTML in there.
exactly. Photoshop had it to where you could, literally, put uh, images in some kind of repository somewhere, and it would generate code, and you go put it in MySpace. I
Oh
was making
yeah.
my own custom motion graphic pieces for my little rinky dink rap projects. But I thought I was dope though, because I was ahead of the game, right? I'm building
Yeah.
stuff out with my images and it's custom. Other people's like, how'd you do that? I'm gonna beef up my MySpace page. You remember I could
Yeah.
customize it, right? So I'm having fun, was always a little bit low key ahead of the game with it, doing it. So I'm doing events, I'm promoting my own events, I'm doing
Mhm.
shows, I'm doing the whole like concept graphic design for the shows. I'm
Now
doing my
wait,
own.
wait, wait. I'm sorry, man, to interrupt you about this, but
Go ahead, go ahead.
um, so during that time period, well, I'm from the South, so did you do any artwork for Master P? I
Oh
know that's
no,
kind of a joke, but yeah, because I know
no,
you
no, no. That's
probably
a funny thing.
yeah, because I know he was in Oakland, driving, and when he was at, I guess when he was first starting and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thing too, because Master P, from New Orleans,
Yeah.
Louisiana, which I have
Yep.
family from, he came out this way, and he kind of landed in Richmond,
Oh yeah,
in
Richmond. That's right.
yeah, around this time. Yeah, no, definitely Ice Cream Man, Master P. Never did no artwork for him, but a lot of people around that time, a lot of homies that was kind of heavy, of course, on the Bay Area sound that kind of
Hmm.
had that vibe. He came here and flexed here and kind of came up with that whole Bay Area sound vibe. The kind of stuff I was doing was more like a classic hip hop backpackerish kind of vibe. But,
Hmm.
I rocked with a lot of different stuff, a lot of different styles overall. And, it was love all the way around with all the folks that was doing the shows and whatnot. And,
Yeah.
the Bay Area has a lot of different vibes and scenes and whatnot. But that is a funny thing. People would ask me to do cover art for 'em, and sometimes they would want that look, and I'd be like, I mean, I could do it, but that stuff is kind of basic, but, it's
Hmm.
this thing. Still to this day, people rocking them kinda album covers or whatnot with that
Yeah.
same kinda look. I'm like, "Bruh, come on now. We 20,
Got to
30
get with
years
the
damn near."
times. Yeah.
Similar
Yeah.
to the music, but that's a whole other thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, that whole trajectory with hip hop and visual art and tying that all together, doing rinky dink little videos, getting bit torrented software to edit and oh man, getting into Reason and Pro Tools and all the VSTs and all this music stuff, tying this stuff together, building out PCs when, um power supply failure, having to beef up RAM,
Hmm.
computers overheating. So there was a lot of technology and need for understanding of tech that went into building out all this stuff. And mind you, at this point, this is all hobby stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
working regular punk day jobs for peanuts this whole time, but I'm just having fun.
Hmm.
Uh, so again, took a break from that, got into more clothing, fashion related streetwear stuff again, kind of cycled back to that. And then a few years later, cycled heavier more back into events. Downtown Oakland, California, knew a lot of different people in different scenes based on all the hip hop stuff I was doing in the early to mid 2000s, late 2000s. 2015, did a run of day parties here in downtown Oakland, was able to tie in all of these things that whole long-winded story was leading up to. And that's at the point when I realized, hey, I can actually monetize this stuff and break away and create more freedom for myself. So
Yeah.
this whole like, I want to be an artist when I grow up. I want to do music related stuff and multimedia stuff. It all tied together. And I realized doing these events, tying together the fashion, the art, the videos, we had so many different levels of multimedia hitting for these events and tying it together. I was getting a lot of attention from bigger promotion
Hmm.
companies, some of the biggest venue spaces in the Bay Area. These people were really seeing what I was doing because I was kind of almost one man show, and I was diversified with these different skills to the point where they're like, wait, how's this one dude throwing these parties and packing thousands of people in these different spaces? And he's not part of some big crew. Who is this dude? But they just didn't understand that I had already had years in the game doing it
Hmm.
and just tied together all these different things. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, I'm killing myself working for peanuts for these other guys, making them rich. Can I pull away and really rock out on this freelance kind of tip and use this video type multimedia motion graphic design skill set and really break away and create more freedom for myself? In 2015, I was able to do that and pretty
Hmm.
much been rocking on the freelance tip ever since.
Yeah. So you hear that, guys? Networking is very important. No matter what you getting into. Um, You never know. Uh, that could be future clients. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure you can talk to that as well. Networking,
I
because
mean,
I.
the networking element is just about as important as whatever the main overall skill is. I mean, you can have a
Hmm.
dope skill. You could, tear down, build up computers,
If you
swap
don't
out
know
operating
nobody.
systems. If you don't know nobody or you don't know how to put that all into some kind of presentation or resume or something where you can place that in front of some person or people know you, know about what you do. It's only so far you're gonna go with that, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Nah, man, that's yeah, that's a dope background how you got into it, bro. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just never I tried the freelance work, you know what I'm saying? It just didn't work for me cuz I tried and this was during the time when a lot of people were getting into website design. So I
Mhm.
did a little bit of that work. Um, it's just I didn't. I'm not a I'm not a people person, to be honest. I mean, I have I don't know. It's just that's just one of my, I guess, issues or whatever, so to speak. We all have our issues, but I just never was one of those people that could sell stuff or
Right.
sell someone on a product or um, do the cold calls and stuff like that where I'm just trying to sell something. So I don't know. It's just I ain't had a gift for gab, so to speak.
No, I don't know. Maybe it's something, us Barrier boys known for having a little bit of mouthpiece. I got my whole nerd thing going on, right? I got a lot of things that work in my advantage. Theoretically, I guess I speak well. I got some vocabulary.
Mm.
Can appear non-threatening in certain situations. 6'2" could be seen as threatening in other situations as well.
Mm.
It gets kind of screeting out here, gets kind of crazy sometimes. Oakland Bay Area, yada yada. You've heard the stories, and it gets crazy. But there's a it's really stratified, right? There's Silicon Valley. There's a lot of things going on. To that
Mm.
point, part of your ability to network is directly relative to the region you're in, right? Like there's a lot of things I've been able to do are specifically relative to being in Oakland, being right across from San Francisco, San Jose, Silicon Valley, having these options with rich culture and music and entertainment and tech and all of these different things out here where they need visual media, right? Like from just flat out graphic design to video to motion graphics. Definitely perfect place, perfect time, and built it up in a way that was really non-traditional. I did it really like a hip hop from the ground up street style kind of vibe, which I'm really proud of.
Mm.
I didn't everything I learned was self-taught. I haven't had any like specific like formal training or schooling or on any of this stuff.
Yeah, that was
Learned
something
it
I
all
was
my
gonna ask you a little
yeah.
later. Yeah, that's
Yeah, pretty
cool.
much learned it all myself and just did it straight b-boy style from the ground up, like just bust that move and get better and better. I could, in certain ways be better
Mm.
had I had formal training, but doing it the way I did it, I think set me apart and allowed me to do it with a certain vibe and energy that made it to where people could connect with it and made it more rarefied. And then of course the idea of doing video, just focusing on the video and the motion graphic elements alone, huge game changer because that just sets you up for a client base to where, I can step to somebody into that point, stepping to people. I'm not really a people person, believe it or not, but when I
Okay.
need to get something done,
Mm.
I know what to say. I can sell myself. I can probably sell my skills better than the skills themselves, although I'm not too
Mm.
bad at what I do. I've been able
Yeah.
to, sustain myself and thrive with it. But just being strategic about it, being a nerd about it, having fun with it, and just being creative. Again, it's just, it's art. It's martial art. You're trying to top your last best move and compete with yourself and just level up and represent properly, right? And do
Yeah.
do art and do something that impacts the world and makes it better for yourself and for other people. It's real dope to be able to do this kind of stuff.
So no formal training at all on any of this. Okay. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then. Have because this is part of what I was gonna ask you too, depending on what you said. And someone kind of asked it in the chat. Les G. Um, how do you like document your process of how you, you know, I guess produce work? You know, is there like a I don't know, some type of process that you follow, so to speak? If that makes sense, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Just trying to understand, do they mean document my process as far as, like, the workflow of how I
Yeah,
build
the
out a
workflow.
project,
Yes, yeah,
or
that.
like, how I built out my career? Because those are kinda
Oh,
2
well, yeah,
separate
yeah.
things.
The like projects and stuff. That's where I was gonna go with it. Um,
Well, no, that's a great point because, like I before we started, I sent you over the email. I got a whole other parallel channel. I got my AM1 channel that I've been rocking with here,
mhm,
YouTube, sort of Black Manosphere type stuff for years. And, we just talking about all kind of different topics and kind of just, having fun. But I've really been wanting to push more on showing people the work I do and how I've built a career for myself. A lot of people know the kind of
mhm,
in this space know the kind of work I do, but and I've shown stuff here and there, but you know how it is in the space. Some people just want the fun. They want uh they want the sweets, the candy. They don't want to
yeah, the
get
end
into the
result
vegetables.
almost.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But, I mean, man, doing this kind of stuff can change your life. I mean,
Oh yeah.
being able to I really do want to leverage my other channel, and I'm gonna start ramping up to it, like I was telling you before. So busy with a lot of my client projects, and these things sell themselves to the point where I haven't had to do a new demo reel or even build out a full site in years.
Mhm.
One, I'm just busy, but it's like the projects keep overlapping. I keep getting new gear and everything's just getting, to a finer polish, getting better and better. So it's kind of like, I'm always my worst critic. By the time I put together a new reel, I want to put together a new reel because I hate that old reel, and everything I put up, I hate it because I know I can do better. I want to do better. But I definitely want to leverage that other channel to showing people more of the kind of work I do because there's
Mhm.
intricacies and there's a lot of parts to it that at the very least people can find interesting. And I'm definitely going to document it that way. And to
Mhm.
that other point of how that could have been asked, I'm going to do a lot more as to document and maybe even make a course about how I've
Yeah.
built out my career doing this freelance work
Mhm.
and just some of the gems and some of the takeaways and milestones that could actually apply not only just to doing this kind of visual media work, but to a lot of different jobs or career paths, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
definitely going to leverage more of that. Right now is the goal rush for people to do things on more of a freelance entrepreneurial kind of level and being able to push digital.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, the job scenes and whatnot. It's a lot of big question marks as we were talking
Mhm.
about as well. So definitely want to push more of that and just, leverage what I was able to build for myself. Maybe
Mhm.
put a little price tag on some of the stuff
Oh
with,
yeah. Oh yeah.
some courses and whatnot. But, for the most part, a lot of it I can, sit and talk for hours with this stuff and,
Mhm.
just give the game away.
Yeah,
But,
because I know a lot of people. Like I've read like a lot of articles where millennials are quitting their jobs to try to pursue whatever. You know what I'm saying? And this like providing that type of training and stuff would be great. Something you could provide to I guess bring in some extra money and everything. So
yeah,
it's
no,
dope.
let's G just said, no disrespect, but get your IP and sell the process.
Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely. Alex Romero, Kevin Samuels of Tech Vibes going on here. That's pretty dope. I like that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna screenshot that. That was pretty fresh. Shout out to folks in the chat here.
Oh
Feel free to
yeah.
follow me, of course. Need a little shameless plug,
Oh yeah,
but
I put his links down in the description of the video. I'll start dropping them a little later, more frequently. But just check the description of the video. All his links are there to his channels and everything. Now, as far as I would say the like all right. You already have a process down. You already have clients, and you basically just said that a lot of your clients bring basically new clients. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering, for people that may want to get into graphic design, what are some of the ways to in videography? What are some of the ways to actually get clients in the beginning? Because I know it's kind of rough in the beginning. So, uh,
well,
what are
one
your
one part of
thoughts?
my whole story that I kind of left out, I skimmed over it real quick, but a big part of it was once I knew that I was going to leave my regular, daytime job, day job situation. Before I was doing a lot of events, I was doing a lot of nightlife stuff, but I took off like a good 6 months to a year and got super busy on YouTube. And I say that
Okay.
because this is most likely, well, we know for sure streaming to YouTube right now. and people will see this later. And I say that to say, like, I'm, YouTube, for better or for worse, it is what it is. Beautiful thing, but one of the most dangerous things ever. There is a lot there's a lot of resources here that you can take advantage of that can change your life. And if you're watching me right now, I'm a living example of it, because I've sat for hours upon hours and soaked up information about video editing and cameras and knowing what gear to get, what tech to get, how to put it all together, and really grind it out on that and tested it all out. So that will help you a lot, because starting off, one of the biggest things, and I'll go to videography because that's what really changed the game for me. uh, eh, I had already dabbled in editing. Editing is not that hard per se. It's more just tedious and time consuming, and you gotta be of the right mindset to do that. But once you know you can
Mhm.
do that, and you understand the art and the end goal, and when you tie it all together, it's like putting together a puzzle, thousand
Mhm.
piece puzzle times 10 times a thousand,
Yeah.
putting together a million piece puzzle. And you're clicking keyframes and you're cutting and you're doing this and you're going back over it and you're rendering and exporting. And then, is your system up to par, your machine? So you got to have the right computer. Then you get into GPUs, graphics processing units, and you got enough RAM and all this good stuff. You know what I'm talking about, Josh.
Mhm.
So it becomes this whole Pandora's box. But I mean, getting into the cameras, I mean, just the camera specs alone, understanding
Oh,
optics and
yeah.
all that. So I mean, there's that part. But one of the biggest keys to getting started with this stuff, and one of the things I did, I did have a unfair advantage in the sense that, I knew a lot of people because of the event stuff I was doing. That's why I outlined that long-winded story at first, because
Mhm.
I did have some advantages, right? Because I was already boots on the ground doing a lot of stuff in the community and, representing, and people knew how I got down with events and just doing different things. So it wasn't that hard to say, "Hey, I'm pivoting more to this kind of service." And you saw what I was able to do for my events and all these different things, right? And promotion and working with these other companies. But now I'm offering video and motion graphics as my own service, and just having that mouthpiece and a willingness to get out there and, take those L's. So one of the biggest things about it is having the skill, taking the time out, maybe sacrificing the time to really learn a skill. I always talk about that on my channel, skills and resources. Acquire skills to acquire resources, and keep repeating that process. So then you get to stop trading your time for money. That's a whole other thing, but that's where you want to create more freedom for yourself.
Mhm.
One of the biggest things with all that said is being willing to offer some of it for free.
Yeah.
It's the dope game. It's the dope game. And some people understand that reference. So give a little bit of a taste of it for free,
Mhm.
give you a free sample, get you hooked, show someone what can be done. And they're going to want more of it if you do it well, because you already know you're doing it well, because you already spent that time practicing and rehearsing. And you go to somebody and say, "Hey, I like what you're doing. Let me shoot some. Let me put something together. If you have a logo, send me that logo. Let me animate it in some sort of way."
Mhm.
I got some big contracts by doing that. "Hey, you got a logo there. Just for fun, send me that logo and let me animate it and let me break that apart and let me show you it in a way representing that you've never even seen."
Mhm.
And one of the beautiful parts of that is, if you're animating someone's logo, a logo they already like, or even better, if you design the logo and then can animate it, but take someone's logo that already exists, animate it, send it to them, they're gonna be blown away because they never saw a movie like that. Then you can say, "Hey, well, on top of that, I can come shoot your video and tie it all together and do a whole motion graphic treatment based on this flyer. Send me the flyer. Is it a Adobe Photoshop layered file of that flyer? Let me break the whole thing apart. Send me the fonts. Let me animate the whole thing, make it move, and then I'll come shoot your event and put it all together." That right there, the sentences I just said, is the recipe for how I built my career doing this. Right there.
Okay. Yeah. That's and I'm glad you brought up the training aspect, how you took that time off to actually get your game up as far as learning all its different software as well as watching videos and stuff like that. That's something that I always recommend people do, to try to, I don't know, get your game up, man, because it's a lot of free information out there. And then you tied it into bringing getting a new client. So that's dope, man, how you was able to, I mean, by providing services for free, that can get you out there. So I definitely agree with that. I appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
you'll probably relate to this too, but part of the beauty with that is like getting started with this, it was a thing where I'm learning anyway, right? So a lot of
Mhm.
people have made whole careers and a whole lot of money making tutorials
Oh, yeah.
right here on YouTube and just online, and have their own sites with tutorials. And then you get into motion design, layers and effects packs and whatnot. There's people making crazy money just doing these kind of things, and
Oh, yeah.
texture packs, graphic design. Somebody will take a picture of a phone shot properly and green screen out the screen so you can replace it with whatever else you want. Whole templates. Like there's a whole marketing industry for that. People making crazy money. That's something I've wanted to get into myself. It's just a matter of the time. There is only so much time in the day. So there's a give and take, and you got to sacrifice it right and, be strategic about it. I carved out my lane being able to do the kind of work I do. I am an artist about it, but there is a certain element that is still a trade time for money element that, you know, I want to leverage it in different ways, but I'll talk more about that too if I remember. But doing this kind of work, the networking that it takes to do it is one thing. But for me, in doing this kind of work, and I guess you could say the region where I'm at, the networks that I've acquired is the even more interesting part by far. Like I've been in some rooms with some extremely interesting people, extremely wealthy people, extremely powerful people. And again, with my other channel, I'm going to talk more about that because man, it's mind blowing the kind of people that I work with, the level of creativity, the level of inspiration. Like, I mean, money ain't everything, but I've worked with a lot of people that are very powerful and push a lot of, a lot of this tech stuff, a lot of, fintech investment level stuff, big time stuff. Like one of my guys who I work with closely is one of the guys who brokered the deal for the app Clubhouse.
Mhm.
So just kind of on the financial back end of that, Andreessen Horowitz, Cultural Leadership Fund. Shout out to my guy Chris Lyons. He like brokered their first financing round on that as far as getting that funded. And I'm sure, of course, you know about that. And a lot of people heard about Clubhouse and all that. And that was all the rage. Um, of course, they only put it out on Apple first, way before Android, and I've been rocking this Android, but whatever. But just interesting stuff, man. The networks is just totally insane, and this work begets more work, and I'm lucky to be able to do this kind of visual stuff. I wanted to draw when I grew up, but essentially now I work with pictures. They're just motion pictures.
Mhm.
I know I kind of rambled off there, but
Nah, you
bring
good.
us back on track.
Nah, you good, good, good. Well, let me give a couple shout outs. I see a few more people rolling in. Pearson Cybersecurity, Pearson Center Cyber. Good to see you. And if you guys can, just go down and like the video. If you're just coming in, I definitely appreciate it. It helps the algorithm, get us out there, whatever. So we can get this information out to as many people as possible. But no, I appreciate you, putting out that information, anyway. And also I wanted to say that I was sharing his links in the chat or whatever. Check out his channel. I'm gonna try to I gotta get the other link. I forgot. I put that one in the one you sent me earlier. I put that one in there as well. I know you said you were, working on adding some more content there. You know what I'm saying? So I put it
Yeah.
out there as well, so people can subscribe to that one as well. But
And I appreciate that too, and I want to clarify that too, because anybody who goes and follows me here on YouTube on this particular channel, this AM1 channel, since way, way back. I mean, we're talking late 2000s when I was doing some of the music related stuff, old janky videos. I think I probably like turned them off as far as visibility now. I'm gonna go
mhm.
get all those and turn them back on and tell that whole story. I'm gonna do like a whole little mini biographical video on myself or in parts
Yeah.
because it's a funny story. I look back at some of the stuff and I laugh, even looking back at old like graphic design stuff I did that was janky as I don't know what. I'm like, okay. But it led me to where I'm at now. And I'm not even the best videographer in the world.
Mhm.
I do what I do and I do it the way I do it. And I do me the best, better than I can confidently say nobody can do me better than me. And
Yeah.
that's a big deal doing this kind of work because it's art, right? There's technicality to it, but there's art, and you want to have your own flavor. You want to have your own style, a certain originality to it,
Oh
and
yeah.
how you get that product off and you get that work out there.
Mhm.
Um,
Because the more exclusive you are, the
There
higher
you
you
go.
could charge.
There you go. So that's part of that thing where I was talking earlier about the idea that I do this kind of work and it gets involved, right? Because I was talking to
Mhm,
one of my clients earlier today and he was just loving this draft of this project that I sent him. He was like, man, this is crazy just how cinematic you made it look. This is my guy. Shout out to my guy, Tyson Amir, Black Literary Collective based out of Oakland, working with Black authors and they're putting their work in schools and bringing like Black authored material directly to some of these learning institutions and community organizations. Super dope. So he, of course, hires me to shoot. We produce the whole shoot, and I'm giving him some of the drafts of this piece that I'm working on, 3 minute piece, motion graphic video, tying it all together. And he's loving. He's just loving like the cinematic kind of nature of it. And it's like I like to go in on these things because I don't just shoot and build this stuff out. It's like it's a part of me, right? I'm invested in it. And
mhm.
I mean, I want to put my heart into it, put my art into it, and send it off knowing, hey, this was dope. I know I'm going to hate it later, a few months, a year later, but at the time, because I'm always getting better, right?
Yeah.
But at that time, I really want to send my client off with something that's dope because here's how it works: set your client up with something dope, they're going to come back. But by sheer virtue of this kind of work, they're gonna show other people. And
Mhm.
those people are gonna say, who did that there? And then they're gonna send them your email or send them your number. And then before you know it, more people is hitting you. And then now you got more opportunities to do the work. So again, I'm an artist, I'm a nerd about this stuff. I love doing it. But it does get time consuming to a certain degree. And that's something I'm working on as well, being able to manage that a little bit better.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, and this is something that I got from my man CEO. I watch his videos all the time as well. Um, do you have gas? And don't start laughing. Uh, gear acquisition syndrome. Are you constantly buying gear?
Ah, man, the gas buildup. Gotta release the gas. Man, it comes in waves. It comes in waves.
Yeah.
And this ties into one of the questions that Savage Scientist Dev asked.
Mhm.
So I run Sony platform, this camera right here in my hand, Sony A7 III.
Yeah.
This thing right here was the second Sony camera that I really rocked and that changed my life. And I really built my career around this thing. And
Mhm.
I, at a certain point, had two of these things. I had dual A7 threes. This is one of the best selling Sony hybrid cameras, mirrorless, small body form factor. This thing changed the game. 24 megapixels, um, 4K, 120 frames per second, but at 1080. I don't know how nerdy we want to get here,
Yeah.
but we could get into it because I'm about that life. My
Yeah.
specs, my camera specs. Anybody who knows, shout out to Savage Science Dev,
Yeah.
Scientist Dev, because maybe he knows. But yeah, A7 III had dual joints of these. Then got this A7C, and this goes into the question as well. A7C is basically this same camera but a smaller body, better color science. Um, Brought out the flip screen, 24 megapixel, yeah, but smaller, right? So it's like the
Mhm.
same camera, but a little bit better with the flip screen, and then a fresh way they did it with the rangefinder kind of vintage camera look.
Oh yeah, I see
This
that.
lens right here, one of Sony's Beast Classic 24 1.4 millimeter. Like we understand all these focal lengths and prime lenses and zoom lenses, stuff that mind boggled me before. And then when I learned it, I was like, how did I not ever know this? It's like
Mhm.
riding a bike, I could never forget. But now to that gas question, what helped me out a lot is the camera that I'm shooting with right now that you guys are seeing me on. Sony A7S III, S for sensitivity, low light sensitivity, 12 megapixel, but they did something where their pixels are bigger, so they're more photosensitive pixels.
Mhm.
So it's just a low light beast. And what they did with the files and the compression made the color bit depth in such a way where it processes in millions of colors, and this thing writes 4K, and it can do 4K at 24, 30 frames per second, but it can do 4K at 120 frames per second. So literally think of a second, it can do 120 frames, and it's writing these big files and this big picture depth. In
Wow.
other words, this is one of the most savage cameras that Sony has dropped. They made a lot of noise with their mirrorless camera body system about 6 years ago with the Sony A7S II. Low
Mhm.
light king for a while, and then they made his wait 5-6 years for the A7S III. So I had A7 III, A7C, and then I got this camera, and this helped me relieve that gas. Long story long, because this camera future proofed me for a while. So I'm not going to
Okay.
need any more cameras for a while after this. Uh, this lens here, 70 to 200. Then that prime that I just showed you. And because a lot of work I do a lot of different work, but a lot of the event type stuff, you really want to have good low light performance. Having this A7S III, the current lens that's on right now is a f4 24 to 105. So
Mhm.
it's a zoom. Um, it pretty much solves every problem I need. So I don't really need to invest in new gear. There's a lot of
Okay.
things on my radar that I might want to get. I want to get maybe some bigger, like cinema style cameras. But part of it is portability too. So just imagine these small camera bodies. There's times where I will go on trips, literally other countries. I'm going off to beautiful places, and I would have this camera, another one of these, and then my other smaller A6500, my baby that I first started with, have that all packed up with lenses and literally going different places in the world with these small bodies.
Yeah.
There's, obvious upsides to that, it being so small and portable, but then, there's only so much tech you can pack into these little bodies.
Yeah.
But if that was a little bit too much nerd stuff for
No,
you, I can dial
no.
that back.
Nah, you good. You good. I I really enjoy all the nerd stuff, man. The geeky talk. But I speaking of geeky talk, we got a question. Snuggles, good to see you in the building. Snuggles 668. Thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, how well and efficient to you gentlemen know, or do you gentlemen know how to use each gadget you all acquire to its capacity? And do you just buy and trade your gadget, or do you just buy and trade your gadgets? And sorry, I can't read right now. Too much stuff going on.
Yeah, no, I was looking at it myself and trying to see past the punctuation. Shout out to Snuggles 668. All right, so it's kind of tricky. I mean, phew, there's still with each camera, you want to know as much as you can possibly know about it. There's literally like hundreds of pages of
Yeah.
menus in so many different functions. There's almost, I don't even think anyone at Sony knows every single menu because you know what I mean? There's different compartmentalized groups that are handling different things at different times,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
these things do so much. They pack so much tech into these things. I know how to make it do what I needed to do for the most part, and I'm always learning. There's other people are digging in and finding new tricks. I just saw a video about the camera that I'm on right now. Just simple things you could do because it has the flip out screen or
Mm-hmm.
touch screen, and just different ways you can make it focus and focus on this thing, transition to this thing, and meter this way for the light. And there's so many different layers too. You can almost never know all of the details, and depending on how frequently you use those, elements to them, you'll forget. There's just too much because,
Yeah.
of course, I'm shooting with the gear. Then I got to offload the files. I got to transfer them to uh different drives. So
Oh
these you get
yeah.
into these hard drives, Josh. You know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Oh,
Like,
I
so we
was
got
gonna
these,
get into that a little
yeah,
later.
solid state drives, the storage, like just straight nerd action. Like, bro, you
Yeah.
could talk about, all right, I know you know what I'm talking about. I could be like, bro, I got these
Mm-hmm.
tiny little 2 terabyte Samsung
SSDs.
T7 solid state joints. Like,
Yeah.
man, I got homies that I could really nerd out with for hours on even just storage, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. So just there's so many layers to it. Luckily, and for most of my career doing this stuff, due to doing a lot of research on everything before I make a purchase, rarely have I ever needed to sell off anything or to trade or, swap.
Mm-hmm.
like mostly like everything that I bought, I've researched it, watched videos on it, for hours, maybe
Yeah,
days worth, like before I make a purchase. Like this lens here, 2414, pretty pricey piece of equipment here,
yeah, and that's what I was
chunky
gonna
piece of
ask you. I
glass.
was like, I mean, it's an investment, so you want to make sure you do as much research as possible before you make that purchase.
My career went for a while, a couple of years before I started getting into like $1,000+ lenses. I was doing
Hmm.
a lot of research on what I could do for a 600, 700, $800 lens. And I'm starting to look at some of these things like, okay, wait a minute. So 1300, 1500, is it really that serious? And then when you get these lenses and pair it with the right bodies, you're like,
Now I see.
oh, I didn't know what I didn't know. Now I
Hmm.
get it. Okay, this is why. This is okay. So when you get a zoom lens like this, you get a 70 to 200. So instead of buying all these prime lenses, these because this you have a 70, you have a 100, you have a 135, you have a 180, you have a 200, you have all of these different lenses. Actually, it says 70, 180. You have all these different lenses built in. So of course they're going to charge you like, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000
Oh
for these
yeah.
things. Now, can you afford it? Whole different story.
Hmm.
That's part of the thing where you go start pitching your skills and step your game up, and then your work starts looking sharper and sharper. You just got to make it work.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, being very selective and strategic and just researching, right? Like
Oh yeah.
it's the time, taking the
Yep.
time. I know you know all about
Yeah.
that. You're going to sit there and read the specs on everything and know what it can do, and processors and all these different things, and hacks on ways to make the software operate properly with the hardware.
We live in an information age. I mean, this is like one of the best times to be alive. You know what I'm saying? All this information out there. You just have to, put in the work and actually learn whatever you're trying to learn. It's out there though, and it's no
Right,
excuse.
right.
So, yeah.
It's just all about the time. Like you already know what
Mhm.
it is here.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a lot, especially kind of in this space. A lot of people want they want the sweets. They don't want the vegetables and the good stuff. They want the easy
Mhm.
stuff.
Yep.
But a lot of it is about the time you sacrifice to really build out some skills to where you can acquire resources and keep repeating the same thing. I talk about that all the time. You have more options in life, create more freedom for yourself. That is the slogan for AM1 Creates. Be free to create, create to be free. That's my life. Like I've created more freedom for myself doing this kind of work than most people I know and that I've ever had for myself. Adult life of working jobs, making other people rich and mostly for peanuts and mostly doing stuff that I didn't really like doing. Now I get to be a big kid who's an artist. I want to be an artist when I grow up. Look at me now. And you can do it too.
Cool, cool. So, one of the next things I wanted to talk to you because I kind of want to transition over to a little bit of the software, and just your, I guess, what would you call it? Challenges, learning this software that you use to actually do a lot of the work that you do, because you talked about it already. You got to take the photos, you got to do the images, get the images. Oh, and drones, that was another thing I wanted to ask you about, but I ask you about that later. But yeah, just about the software and the type of software that you use, and uh if you can get into that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Man, back in the day, like I told you before, my long bio story. My old computers, stressing them things out, downloading stuff off BitTorrents, Sony Vegas Pro, doing edits with that, and get the edit going. Computer gets so hot, computer crash. So we talking
Hmm.
late 2000s. But pretty much video software, they all mostly work on the same timeline,
Hmm.
and I was running PCs for most of my career doing graphic design work,
Hmm.
and I pretty much rocked out with the Adobe platform because it was just again, since Macromedia, Photoshop, and Illustrator, I was running already Photoshop and Illustrator before it was Adobe, and then Adobe bought it out. So just with that timeline and then running PCs, I had just already been rocking that on PCs, and then when I
Hmm.
switched over to um, some Apple laptops and MacBook Pros.
Mhm.
So this is 2012-ish, 2012, 2013 MacBook Pros, and was like, okay, this is pretty serious. But a lot of people say, well, if you're a graphic designer, you're supposed to use Macs. And people saying that most of my career, and I'm like, look, Mac PC don't matter. Whatever gets the job done. The software is on both platforms. I kind of see what they mean. Though. I
Yeah.
mean, Macs are super stable, but then all the crazy proprietary stuff, and it's hard to. Sometimes they don't play nice with others. I know you
Mhm.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
But within the ecosystem of Adobe Creative Cloud,
Mhm.
wow. That is, I mean, gotta hand it to Adobe. They really put together a amazing suite of applications that can be used from semi-pro to professional settings. And yeah, you can build a whole career around it and change your life. And then you get into different plugins and add-ons to these different things. Premiere, rocking it Premiere for years, even back when I had cracked versions of that software, freezing up, glitching, got to
Yeah.
redo the whole project because it didn't save right. Then finally, when I hit that corner enough to where I was sustainable, to where I could actually pay for the legit Creative Cloud. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Did I just incriminate
It's all
myself?
good, man. I think they're
Hey,
not looking for anybody no more.
it's been years. I've been
Yeah.
paying that whatever it is. I pay like from 30 to $50 a month, something like that.
Mhm.
I don't even blink at it because I just gotta have that. Like every day I'm in Illustrator, Premiere, and
Mhm.
After Effects without question. And there's like 20 something applications that they have in their 3D software. They got the animator stuff, they got the character animator, they got the Adobe Audition,
Mhm.
InDesign. So if you want to do more booklet, magazine layout, specific type stuff, it's amazing the suite of stuff in there. So yeah, I've been rocking that Creative Cloud stuff for years, and then of course the ultimate next level, in my opinion, or at least in my career, Cinema 4D, Max on Cinema 4D.
Okay.
As it sounds, Cinema 4D. You rock in four dimensions, so it's 3D software, and over time, so that's your fourth dimension. So yeah, Cinema
Okay.
4D, you're able to really build out 3D environments and texture them, and then with the right renderers, you can render out photorealistic anything, like whole scenes, people's face,
Mhm.
subsurface scattering, so you can make skin look realistic to where like how light hits skin and then it's actually penetrating depending on the melanin content, and it like factors in for all of that. Like the coding is just mind-boggling that goes into this stuff, and then people are building other renderers that render it in different ways. So you're getting
Mhm.
into Redshift and um oh my god, there's just so many layers to it. So
Oh
many
yeah.
Blender, that similar software, Maya. Like we're talking stuff that's been used in like movies like Iron Man and Avatar, like crazy high level stuff, like Pixar level type stuff. Cinema 4D, like ridiculous.
Mhm. Yeah, and see that's the thing. I never got into the more proprietary software. Where I started by using Photoshop. And this was when I was doing web design, just trying to build photos. I mean, like logos and all that stuff at the time, editing photos, basic photos. I didn't get too deep into it, and then I kind of jumped into the open source side because I didn't go any further with design, so to speak, or videography or anything until I started my channel and some of that stuff started coming back, and I had to um, use the software I've been using, which was all open source. Now, I think I talked to you about that. I asked you a while back, do you use any open source software when it comes to it? But I think you don't. Yeah, it's just the Adobe stuff, right?
I want to get into Blender and try it out.
Oh,
Blender,
yeah,
if I'm not
Blender.
mistaken, is open source. I got to
Yeah.
see if it works on the machines I have, which it should. Just got
Okay.
these new Mac Mini and MacBook Air, but with the M1 chip, which is just bonkers. If you know anything about that, like what Apple
I
did with
heard
that
about
is
it.
just ridiculous. Like they're just killing the game. They got the M1 X and I think M2 chips coming up soon. So I can't even imagine just that integrated chip with the GPU integrated. The processing, the speed is just bananas. But yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to do some open source stuff, but I mean, it just worked out for better or for worse that with the Adobe Creative Cloud and the way those applications all work together. I mean,
hmm
seamlessly for the most part, you're going between. I mean, the hub for me is After Effects because that's usually the endpoint where I'm putting everything together. So,
Mhm.
shooting content, doing my edits, Premiere, and then let's say I'm going to build out motion graphic elements. Then I'm going to put that typically in Illustrator. Certain elements of it might come through Photoshop, and then everything's going to tie all together with After Effects, and that's where I'll piece it all together. And then you would just never even know where I started from, unless you subscribe to my other channel where I give you breakdowns of how I do it in my workflows.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, Creative Cloud just changed the game for me back then and to this very day. I was literally woke up this morning
Yeah.
and was rendering and working in Premiere and After Effects and Illustrator and all that good stuff.
Cool. 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 Yeah. I like I said, that I got to get back into it, man, because it's it's I've always that's always been like my weakest point, I guess, on my channel, along with other stuff, but on my YouTube channel, as far as just doing design and just trying to have that creative mind. I don't I can't, I don't know, see like small, I can't see all the small details that I should possibly change to make something look a little a whole lot better. So I depend on a lot of the scripts that
Mm,
pre-do things, for you. Like if I need like a glow effect around some text or something like that, I'll run the scripts and everything. So
mhm.
just use it that way. But nah, man, that's dope. But if but let me see if you agree with this though. If someone is just getting into this, um, do you think they should invest? And yeah, you can't tell anybody how to spend their money, but should you think? Do you think they should invest in that, or use some open source tools until they get to the point where they can invest in it? And I'm sure you
That
would
is
agree with that. But
no, 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 absolutely. That's a great point. Because yeah, I mean, I think even if you sort of do like some of the Adobe stuff, you can kind of a la carte it. So I think you can do like Photoshop just by itself or Premiere just by itself.
okay.
And I think it's maybe like I want to say $9, $10 a month for one
Oh, that's not
application,
bad.
or maybe even maybe 20 for one application.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, depending on what you and if you can start it and stop it, like again, I'm to the point where I just don't even think about it. That's the build, just autopilot. I don't even think twice about that because I gotta have
Mm-hmm.
it. Um yeah, I mean that's the way to go. And there are definitely Photoshop sort of competitors that are open source as
Yeah,
well.
GIMP.
So yeah, those all exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I would say if anything, rock out one of those because basically for the most part, these things are just layers, right? So if it's
Oh
something
yeah.
like Photoshop, it's just layers. And then Illustrator is basically layers, but now you're dealing with the like mathematical vector line points and
Mm-hmm.
where you could bend them and twist them and do certain things. I mean, there's a lot of extra effects and software and just sort of usability and interchangeability that comes with using something like that whole suite of apps within something like a Adobe. But I mean, getting started, yeah, if you can save yourself extra $10 a month or
Mm-hmm.
$50 a month or whatever, then do that. Do
Mm-hmm.
it. Build out enough stuff to where you kind of rock a mini portfolio. Reach out to people and say, "Hey, send me that logo. Let me break it apart. Let me see what I can do with it. Let me spice it up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make some images for you for your Instagram or whatever." Then at that point, you could go to someone else and say, "Hey, look at someone's whole IG that I built up." Go start looking at things like creative market. That's one of the something that like a repository of different things that you could buy, and they even give you free things every week too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kind of different like fonts or different templates, and just tapping in with those kind of things. Just looking online for whatever free you can get. I mean, you could just go in a rabbit hole for days and days and get a lot of free stuff that you can tear apart if you have the time. And it's
Mm-hmm.
tedious, but you could tear apart what someone else did and be able to learn a lot. Oh man, I was trying to get the link for my other channel. The brother was asking me about the link.
Oh, yeah, I could
Oh,
drop it in there for you. But nah, man. So that's pretty much all the questions I have for you. I don't, I don't know if you know that, but I don't do panels. I don't. I try not to try to stay away from that. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of want to make sure the guest is highlighted as much as possible, man. So you guys go ahead on and go over to AM1's channel. you know what I'm saying, and subscribe and everything and check out what he's doing over there. And like I said, this really ties to IT. A lot of people, like I've it's not like a recognized thing in IT, but I think it is something, that should be recognized because I mean it's similar to website design. I mean, yeah, you're programming with photography, well, with video editing and all that stuff. You're using like very specialized software and modifying photos and videos and all that stuff, and providing that stuff. So it is tech related. So I definitely want to, like I said, bring AM1 on. I definitely appreciate him taking the time to do this for me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody that's in the building. But is there anything else you want to throw out there, AM1?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to touch back on that again. I'm not sure if I did earlier. I kind of rambled off. I tend to do that. Uh, but anyone who's subscribed to my AM1 specific channel understand that that's content that I've been posting up for years, but a lot of it has kind of leaned more in the direction of more like men's development type content where I'm just addressing certain social issues and just kind of my worldview through the lens of visual media producer, and basically just chopping it up and talking about a lot of different things. So don't be too surprised when you hear some of my thought processes on some of the things that come up on that channel. But the AM1 Creates, the one that I just dropped the link to there, that is where I'm going to be dropping specific content about getting into such a career like this and some of my projects, and showing you behind the scenes with some of the networks and the people that I've met and really highlighting their projects. 80 to 90% of my clients are Black owned businesses and creatives and business owners, and just amazing, amazing people that I really could just build out a whole platform highlighting some of the people that I've met and my client base and networked with. Is really amazing stuff. And I'm saying, the work that I did for them is amazing, but no, seriously, they're what they do is really amazing stuff. So it's really great to be able to work with so many amazing creative people, super talented. It's always just the inspiration is just a feedback loop all the time. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me come through. This was overdue. Definitely got to do it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got to tap in more because I'm curious. Where did you get the artwork done for the channel art now? 'Cause I see you got
Um,
some motion kind of intro set up.
yeah, where did I get that? Oh, Fiverr.
Hmm.
Cause I didn't know where to go. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I remember talking to you a while back, but this has something to do with um my wife's channel. I
That's
was
right.
looking
That's
at,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just didn't hit you up about my stuff because I knew you kind of, I don't know. It seemed like more high. The way the quality and everything is more high end. You know what I'm saying? And where I probably couldn't afford it at the time. So I was like, let me just wait around until I get in a better situation to actually hit you up and spend the good money once I was ready. To actually update everything. And then also I didn't expect this thing to even hit. I didn't expect to hit 1,000 subscribers, let alone 8,000 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? So uh, I don't
No,
know.
I love it, man. I've been watching. I remember we talked about that before. Yeah, it was for your wife's thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, just being able to do your channel and talking about sort of, I would even say, kind of, maybe you agree, kind of a even more specialized area within tech, within IT, and you'll be able to run these numbers up. I think a lot of it is
Hmm.
consistency. I think you said this is episode 40 of you doing something like this. So I'm
Yeah.
inspired by seeing your push and watching you grow. And again, an honor for myself to be here as well. And again, it's inspiration for me. We've been talking about this back and forth for months of
Oh yeah.
tapping in and kind of getting it in on some content together. So this is super dope and just further inspiration for myself. But yeah, I'm glad to see your numbers running up, man. You'll be at 10K soon. Then algorithms will hit more. But yeah,
Hmm.
let's circle back on that. Let's
Oh yeah.
talk more about I'm thinking now, if you could kind of send me kind of what you had built out, Fiverr, this tricky situation,
Yeah.
killing the game for us creatives out here. And I mean, the work I do, like I said before, is really specialized, and it's like I'm working with a client and working to curate something relative
Mm-hmm.
to what they already have, but super unique, and that's going to hit, and that's going to be timeless. So there's a certain
Yeah.
level of investment to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where this is going to last you. I'm trying to future proof what I build,
Yeah.
or at least it's going to be a unique sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do from that perspective is time consuming. And of course, I do live in the USA. Some of those folks on
Mm-hmm.
Fiverr live in whole
Yeah.
other places with whole other economies where they
That's
can
true.
do
That's true.
something for $5 and spend
Mm-hmm.
5 days on it and be working for $1 a
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah. That'll feed them for a month, some of those places. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But nah, like I said again, I appreciate you coming on and just stay on in the background. I'm gonna run a little outro after this, but let me just give a couple more shout outs to everybody that was here. Chris McDonald, I seen what you said. Yeah, UX designer. That's exactly what that is. But no, I appreciate all you guys coming through again. Make sure you subscribe to AM1, his channel, and his channels, all his links and everything. So and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to put that link in. Well, I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But shout out to everybody again, and peace out, and keep it techie.